Hey everybody, Shane Severson here, Legacy Realty, and we are here ready to do our November market update. And I am so excited to share some data, some information with you. I've got all kinds of information. I've got graphs, charts I want to share. Um, I'm actually planning on doing a 2024 year end review. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. We're doing numbers for November because they just came out. Numbers come out a month after it hits so that we know what the data is. But we are in December. And so when you're watching this, we, all of us, are in December, but we're looking at a month behind in numbers. So next month, when I do a market update, when our team does, we'll be sharing December's numbers and we'll still be in 2024. But I want to do a market end right now because we're in the middle of it right now. So I want to talk about what's going on. I want to just chat about all of that and so forth. So, well, let me first start by saying for those of you who watch videos for about 30 seconds, we all know the statistics. I would challenge you that if you're interested at all in the market, if you're talking to friends, family, and people think they know what's going on in the market, it's going to crash, whatever you're hearing, I would challenge you and strongly recommend that this be the video that you watch all the way through. It is going to be a longer video. It is going to have graphs and stuff, but I want to show you when you hear me talk, many of you hear me talk and talk about the market. I want to show you the data that we're actually looking at for those of us who know what's going on, not your water cooler buddy that whatever he does for a living thinks he knows what's going on, like somebody looking at the stats, somebody looking at the data that knows what's going on. And I want you to see that. When I talk to people, here's the deal. A lot of people are telling me, wow, Shane, you're pretty optimistic. And I hear that all the time, like you're pretty optimistic. You're pretty optimistic. I don't think it's optimism at all. I think it's the stats that I'm looking at that show us what's going to happen next year, what's going to happen in years to come. And so forth. So I don't think I'm being optimistic, and that's why I want to show you the graph. So when you're listening to me, you're like, well, I think he might be right, and you can look at what I'm actually looking at. So anyway, let's get into the numbers first of all. Our market numbers that I go over all the time, so I'll do that, and I'll do it quickly. Our closed price in 2023 was 783,211. For 2024, it's 782,931. So we're a couple $100 off. So basically a zero change. So 1 year we have not seen any change in our prices. So it's been straight across stagnant. So keep that in mind. That is driven by how many houses we have on the market and months supply. So however many houses we have, we can track how many buyers we have and how much supply we have before we sell out. Those are the numbers that drive prices up and down. Our active listings are up 30%. That is a massive number. In 2023, we had 6,027 houses. In 2024, we have 7,852. So we're up by 1,800 homes on the market. So that's a big number and is something to watch. Our month supply, you guys know a pretty average market is 4 to 6 months of supply. And we are at 2.8. So we're still, and that's the number that we need to track. When we say market's crashing, we got buyers, the market's stalling out, like we're still at 2.8 months supply. If you look at the graphs for that, that has never dropped our market. It's never really changed our market. I will talk about what I feel like is changing our market, and it has nothing to do with a lot of the things that you're hearing it has to do with. But in 2023, we were at 2.3, and in 2024 we're at 2.8. So we jumped up 21.7%. So that's the data, excuse me, that's the stats that we're looking at. And it is a little bit concerning in the fact that our active listings are coming up, more homes on the market, which is slowing things down. for sure. It's definitely been a slow market in this season. This is probably the slowest season I've been in since the crash, which is a massive, massive statement. But it doesn't mean we're going through a crash. And I want to talk about that and show you what is actually going on. And so let's jump in to the graphs, and I want to share my screen here just so you can look at what I'm looking at. If we look at these graphs, so this is the chart. If you follow my market update at all, if you have in the past, I do this every once in a while. I'll get on. This is just MLS data. Every house that sells on the market goes through this data. So this pretty much covers everything. And our graphs that we're looking at here go back from 2009. I have used the same graphs and I go all the way back since the 70s to make sure I can check the graphs, make sure I'm not missing anything. Big trends, market crashes, all of that I can track and see what's going on. The one thing I want you to see that is so important that I feel like people don't quite understand, especially if you're not in the business. If you look at this graph, let me get it out of the way here. If you look at the graph from all the way 2009, and the graph looks the same. I mean, if you go all the way back to the 70s, it looks the exact same. And you look at and you track it. It's kind of hard because this box right here, but if you look, the trajectory of this graph, the growth is about the exact same. It doesn't change. It doesn't have big waves. It doesn't move much. It goes up very steady. It's not like the stock market. It's not like any other investment. It just steadily goes up. If you track it since the 70s or really throughout history, real estate goes up 6%, 6.5% a year. And that's what it does every year. Now, the difference to keep in mind between your stock market, you're trying to get, like your investments, you're trying to get 20% return. The difference in real estate is you can leverage your money. So you can buy houses on very little money. You're getting a 6% return on a $700,000 house when you only have maybe 100,000 invested. So your returns are actually astronomically more than most investments. That's why they say the investing in real estate is your best. It's steady and you are leveraging your cash that you need in. That's all a side point. But if you look at the trajectory, that's what I want you to look at is the trajectory. It doesn't change no matter what happens, no matter who's in office, no matter all of these years. It doesn't matter anything that's going on. The graph looks the exact same. The only thing we see in the middle of the year is our seasonal change. Now, that's the thing. If you've ever met with me, talked about the market, you hear me talk about all the time. I don't hear agents talk about that. I don't hear anybody talk about that. There's a few of us, and really, I'm one of the only ones I hear talk about that. Of course, I'm not in presentations with other agents much. But if you look, the summer, May, June, July, that is when the peak happens. That's when prices go up. If you go down October, September, December, that's when prices are down. Prices will be 5 to 10% swing during the year. I don't make that up. This is a statistic that we can track every single year. So if you're looking to buy, you do not want to buy unless you have to, or for some other financial or family reason, you don't want to buy in the middle of summer. You're going to way overpay. If you're going to sell, you don't want to sell in November, December. You're going to get a lot less. You want to time the market out so you can make an extra 10%. If you're selling a house at 700,000, that's $50,000 to $70,000 in your pocket if you just know when you should sell and how you should sell. The one thing I want us to look at in this trajectory is right here. We do not have that little bubble right there. It went away. It's not there. And the trajectory went from about that to that. If you can see that, the trajectory is going like this for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it does that. The other thing that happens when it does that, it gets very unstable. These peaks right here are much greater, they're much higher, and the valleys are much lower than we've ever seen. The crash didn't look like this. This is probably the most unstable market I have seen ever in history. And it's just going a little crazy right now, which is freaking people out. It's making them nervous. They don't understand what's going on, so they think it's crashing or whatever. And that's what I want you to see is this instability over the last 3 or 4 years. So the question is, people will say it's the economy, it's this, it's that. Yes, that has partially what to do with it. But if you look in the past, that has never affected anything. So why is the last 4 years so unstable compared to everything else? If we can get our head wrapped around what's going on, then we understand what should happen in the future. I always say I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not God, so I can't guarantee something's going to happen, but I got a pretty good idea of what's happening and what's going to happen next year. I don't think it's optimism. I think it's the graph that tells us every month what's going to happen. All right, so let's jump into that and let's talk about what has happened. First of all, right here, this bubble did not happen. The market started to go and we had COVID, shut the market down. So that's why you see no activity, no peak. We weren't selling homes. We couldn't sell homes. We couldn't get out and show homes. We were locked in our home for months and we did not have any activity. The thing is, what's crazy about that is we go through COVID and we would think because of the economy, because of everything shutting down, the market would slow down. Instead, it skyrocketed quicker than it ever has before. Why did that happen? Two reasons. One is people stopped buying homes for 6 months. And so we live in a big city. What's going to happen when you shut a market down for 6 months? Duh, it's going to explode when the market opens back up. This is only common sense. So it explodes. What made it even like throwing gasoline on a fire was the interest rates. If you look at the interest rates, I did some statistics and just wanted to make sure I could present this properly. Back in 19, we had rates in the fours. So back in this time right here, still, it didn't matter if the rates were in the fives, sixes, fours. We had a very stable market. Back in 19, we had rates in the fours. By 2020, when this happened, they dropped the rates to help the economy, to spur everything. They dropped them into the twos. You guys know this. They dropped into the twos. So now you can't sell homes. Homes aren't hit the market. People aren't wanting to get out of their home. They're freaked out. I was living this. I'm not making this up. People didn't want you in their homes, even when they opened things back up. So there's no homes on the market, and rates are in the twos. Buyers flood the market like we've never seen before, and sellers are holding off. The market absolutely skyrockets. 100, 200,000 overbids because you can't even buy a house. That's what caused this. That's what happened. So what happened is it's really exploding because of that, but then you still have the seasonal drop. Because it goes so high, it has to drop lower. If you look at this trajectory, yes, it jumped here, but now look at this trajectory from here. It's about the same as it's always been. It's not changing. The market's not dropping. It's not doing this. It's doing the same trajectory, except we have these higher peaks and valleys. And that's what we have to figure out what's going on. The average rates in history have been sixes and sevens. That's normal. Six is an average rate throughout history. But so the thing is, with when you hit sevens, that's never been a concern. People never talked about sixes and seven interest rates. When I got in the business, I was selling 14% interest rates and people were buying. Not, it was prior to this, but the graph looked the exact same at 14% interest rate. Why are people freaking out over 6% interest, 7% interest rates right now? And you might be thinking because the payments are higher, the house prices are higher. Yes, that is true. But again, back in these days, prices were $100,000. Right in here, they're 500,000. Trajectory didn't change. The market didn't change. Nothing changed. So what is changing this? And I'll tell you what people are thinking and what's going through the head. The last time we saw sixes, 6% interest rate. The last time we saw them was 2008. That's the crash. The last time we saw 6% interest rates was what? 16 years ago is the last time we saw 6% interest rates. So anybody who's in their 20s, 30s, they haven't seen interest rates ever in their lifetime that were in the sixes. So they're freaking out over 6% interest rates. But keep in mind, that's never changed the market. So we got to keep that in mind. The last time we saw a seven in front of an interest rate was 2002. That's mind boggling. Almost 23 years ago was the last time we saw sevens. Now, again, what's the average rate over history? Sixes, sevens, right in there. So it shouldn't change much. In 2023, I know there's a lot, I'm nerding out. I know this is a lot of information, but it's so important to understand. If you want to talk about what the market's doing, watch somebody nerd out over something and tell you what's going on so that you can educate others or at least know that they know what they're talking about. In 2023, our rates started at 6.25 and it ended at 7. It kind of bounced up and down, but it was trajectory was kind of coming up a little bit. In 2024, it started at 6.75. So it started in 2024 a little lower. In September, it got to 6.08, which is the lowest we've had in a couple years. And then in December, it went back up to 6.75. I talk to people every day. They're still freaking out. Rates are back up at 6.75. It's just the fear of people trying to get their head wrapped around. We're no longer in the twos and threes. People are still trying to wrap their head around. We are at an average rate and probably will stay there. I don't know, 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, I don't know, but we're back to a normal market and it's going to stay here. So, with that being said, and all that being said, what do we need to look at? First of all, I think the fear that is driving these massive peaks and valleys, that's the key. It's fear. It's rates go from 6 to 6.75 and everybody pulls off the market because, oh my gosh, it's not going to happen. And that's why we're seeing the big dips. But then all of a sudden summer hits. We're in a big city. You got to jump back in. If you want to buy a home, you've got to get in. People realize the sky's not falling. They jump back in and the market goes back up. So it's so much more unstable than we've seen before because the rates, because all this stuff, because of COVID, because we saw 2% interest rates, which skyrocketed it. And then we went to 7 and then it dropped. And we're just seeing more instability in the last 3, 4 years since COVID. And a lot of that's because the government gave money, inflation hit. Now they can't quite get the interest rates lower anyway. All right. So here's the deal. Economy is an issue. Yes, it is an issue. There will be people that cannot buy homes. That will slow our market. Yes, I'm not being overly optimistic. That is reality. That will happen. Yes, no question. Rates have been an issue. Yes, we haven't seen rates like this since most of you have maybe been alive or maybe not alive, but old enough to be watching and paying attention. Yes, rates have been an issue. The election, historically, when you go through an election, the market pulls off and stops because they think if this person or that person. I'm not even going to tell you what side I'm on because you'd stop watching the video. It's our world has fallen apart. If this person gets voted in, the whole world's going to collapse and America will be no longer. If this person gets elected, the other people feel the exact same. There's so much turmoil and just in our world more than we've ever seen. And so we are past the election. I know he's not in, I know all of that, but the fear, the anxiety, the what ifs, we're past it. It's gone. So we're past the election. Historically, once the election happens, people go back in. Look at the stock market the day after the election. People got back in the market. Market took off. Is that because of Trump? No. Is it because of her? No. It's because people realize, okay, the sky didn't fall. Some country didn't come take over my family. We're okay. I haven't been wanting to buy because I thought it was going to collapse. I'm going to jump back in the market. That's what we're seeing. And the market seasonality, we're in the middle of that. So that's all causing it to drop. The economy, the rates, the election, the fear, and the market seasonality. So sky didn't fall. We're in a big city where people need to buy homes. We are seeing from mortgage applications, there's more buyers prepping, getting ready to buy than we've seen in a long, long time. That's not optimism. That is stats. That is a fact. People are getting ready to buy. We know that is true. And we are in a big city and they're going to buy. Look at the graph. It's always been, it will always be. Denver has only it's only dropped one time, and that's because of a absolute failure in common sense of lending. It's the only time. So we're not expecting any of that. My projections, here's how we're going to end this. My projections, if we stay in the sixes, which we should, if we hit seven, the sky's not falling. Anywhere set 6 to 7, if we're in that range, January, you see every year, come January, the market takes off. I'm projecting by the 6th of January, that's that first Monday in January, the market is going to take off. Statistically, we have about 7 to 8 times the activity. You heard me correctly. We'll go from one showing a week to 7 or 8 showings a week by January 6th. It happens every single year since I've been in business and I've tracked it. It will take off. That is what's going to happen. And by January, our market is going to take off. As long as the rates stay in that 6, 7, market's going to be good. It's going to be good. Is it going to be 100,000 overbids? No. Are you going to see 20% price increases? No. Are we going to see 10%? No. We won't even get to 6. We'll be 3, maybe 4, probably 3% increase. We're going to get back just to the normal, little bit lower than normal because of prices and all of the stuff we've talked about. To me, the magic number we're watching next year, if we get a rate that starts with a 5, I think the market is going to go bonkers again. Will we see 200,000 overbids? No, but we will see overbids again. We will see competitiveness. We will see multiple bids. We will see overbids. That is a reality. If the rate starts with a 5, the market is going to explode again, and we're going to see another big peak like we have for the last 4 years. I'm not making this up. Look at the peaks. We've seen it every single year. We are in a year right now. You can see this peak is lower. Why? Because of everything I just described. That's why it's a little lower than this one here. So you can see we're still going up every year, but it's not quite as massive as a peak as that one where we were in the 2s and 3 interest rates and there were no homes on the market. So my projection is January is going to be really hot. We're going to have a really good, not really good maybe, but it's going to be a good year next year. And if we hit the 5s, look out. If you haven't bought a home, you're in trouble once we hit the 5s, which we should hit next year. Projections are we'll be in the low 6s starting the year, maybe mid 6s, and it'll creep down all throughout the year. And if we get in the mid 5s or high 5s, hopefully we should be there by the end of the year. That's the plan. So how do we take this? I don't think I'm optimistic. I think I'm looking at graphs. I think I'm looking at stats. I'm not making up something just saying, hey, the market's going to be good because I just think it's going to be good. I feel good today. I've tracked this since I've been in business. I've seen the crashes. I've seen the big economies. I've seen it all happen, and nothing changes what happens in Denver. It just keeps going up, and summers are good. Winters are not great. Make sure you know what you're doing. So let's end this. What do you want to do as a buyer? If you are a buyer, you literally have a couple weeks left. I'm just telling you. If you don't buy or at least get out in the car in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you missed your opportunity. Prices will be 30,000 higher by January. Happens every year. Now is your time to buy if you want to buy. If you're looking to sell, don't sell today, but you need to call today. I have, I think, I don't, a lot of people right now, we are prepping their homes. We're getting their homes ready so that we can hit the market right. Don't call me in March and think, okay, I'm ready to sell. It takes time to prep a house, get it ready. We want to do that now. So if you're looking to sell, plan early next year to spring, summer, and call me now, call our team now so we can start prepping houses, getting things ready, getting a plan together to sell. If you're an investor, now, now, now. If you get into next year, prices are going to be up in January. They're going to skyrocket throughout the year because of the interest rates and everything. Fear's gone. People are going to jump in. If you're looking to buy a house, do it now. I have an investor just bought 4 flips for this next year, and he did it now because he's prepping. He knows what's going to happen. He's buying at the bottom so that he can fix them up and do that. All our investors are doing it now. If you're an investor, buy now. Reach out. Hope that helps. I hope that's good information. Do me a favor. If you did watch this, would you put a comment on here? Tell me what you thought. Throw out some ideas. Say hello. Great information. Do something. Would you share this video, please, so people can get the word out so we stop getting this craziness? If you don't want this to happen, get educated, share the information from somebody who knows what they're talking about, and educate people so we can get all of this craziness to stop, because it's just fear and people talking that don't know what they're talking about. So share the video, like the video so we can get the word out. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your travels. Stay safe. I love you. I appreciate you. God bless. We'll see you next time.